Hash House and Circle Up.
Welcome to On, the Hash House Harrier podcast for interviews, history, and stories. I'm your host, Ra.
I unfortunately could not make it to the Bras and Pants Hash 21st anniversary. Our guest correspondent, who we haven't heard from in a while, Run2Eat, set out to find who was floating around and grab an interview. This interview is audio only. If you don't know, most of the podcast episodes are in video too. You can find them on the YouTube channel. But today, enjoy Run2Eat interviewing Sex Reject. On.
Hello and welcome to the On podcast. I am Run2Eat. I am sitting here with the wonderful Sex Reject, and we're going to do the interview today. First question. Where and when did you come to hashing?
I came to hashing in 1995 in Brussels. I had just moved there. I was working for the European Commission. I'd been there 3 or 4 weeks. Didn't know a living soul in the whole city. And I was like, I'd better get some kind of network around me. At the time, there was an English language magazine that came out, I think, every week called The Bulletin. I picked it up and I read it, and they had a 4-page centre spread on the Brussels Manneken hash house.
4 pages?
4 pages, whole big spread about the BMPH3.
Crikey.
And an interview with the Turd, who was the GM at the time, and the whole 9 yards. I'll never forget it. I read it and I thought, this sounds like fun.
Oh, wow.
I phoned up the GM. I said, hello, Mr. Turd, sir. Can I come to your hash thing, please, sir? He was like, certainly, young man. He was very well spoken. He was a driver for the great and the good of the commission.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. He said, meet me at this pub at 12 noon on Sunday. The pub was at the bottom of the street I was living in, so that was good.
Perfect.
Met him, had a beer, and he drove me out to the hash. It was such a wonderful experience from the get-go. The legendary Penis, lately of Brussels, currently of somewhere in the northeast in the US, was the beermeister at the time. And Penis turned up in his little American car, hauled 2 coolers of beer out of the back, opened them up, and I went up and I was like, trying to be polite, excuse me, sir, may I have a beer, sir? And he just laughed at me. He said, what the fuck do you think it's here for?
Did you do it in English or French?
Oh, English, because
Okay.
I could hear he was an English speaker.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was October by that point. Shitty weather. Loads of shiggy. We were all a mess at the end. And then the circle. And I was like, oh my God, this is fun.
So that was your first hash.
First hash. And that was
Because that brings me to your first hash experience. What were you expecting? What were you feeling? Your first hash ever?
I was expecting a reasonably challenging trail, and I wasn't, and I've never been very athletic, but soon found out that there was options of trail for all appetites, which I love.
Fantastic.
I stumbled through the forest. People were chatty, they were friendly. I was like, this is good. I'm moving, getting to see bits of the city and surrounds that I wouldn't normally see. It was great. And then what was I feeling? By the time we got in, had our beers, I chatted to a few people, and the circle started, and I saw the joyful nonsense that went on in the circle. I was elated. I was super happy. I was like, it's fucking great. Yeah.
These are my people.
These are my people. I have found my tribe. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I was super happy.
So that's what got you hooked.
Yeah.
And you came again, obviously. How soon did you come again?
Oh, the next week.
The very next week.
The very next week, absolutely.
From your very next week, how soon did it get you named Sex Reject? And tell me the story of your naming.
So the naming took, I don't know, probably normal for Brussels. I know some hashes have a thing where you've got to be named after X-Runs and so on.
Oh, we take ages.
Yeah, there was no such formality in Brussels. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months, something like that. Something fairly standard.
That's normal for us.
Yeah,
That's normal.
the naming was at the Circle at a famous and popular venue, which I think they still use, Under the Elephant's Bum in Tervuren. I think there's like a wildlife park or something there.
That's a brilliant name,
Yeah.
Under the Elephant's...
Yeah, there's a big fuck-off statue of an elephant at a particular place in Turview, and that was where the circle was that day. The general opinion was, yeah, it's time for this guy to be named.
So do you actually have the meeting under the elephant's bum?
No, that was where the circle was that day. So
Okay.
namings were always done, as far as I know still are, done in the circle whenever it was time for somebody to be named.
Okay.
So that was that one that day. And it started off with the, sadly not hashing anymore, but he's still around, the inimitable Triafuck, who was RA at the time. Triafuck was like, I'm proposing we name this guy Sex Object. Because he's the most unlikely sex object on the house. Yeah. Harsh but fair. Yeah. Harsh but fair, yeah, sort of.
Oh my goodness.
Hairy, bloated, drunken. I'd really got into it by then.
Drunken hairy Irishman, yeah.
So he started off with sex object and went round the circle the way it does, and there was mutterings and ideas and people threw various things out. And then somebody said, no, he can't be a sex object, he's too revolting. And somebody yelled out, sex reject! And that was that.
That's horrific, but wonderful in the same way.
I didn't care. I thought it was...
Well, yeah. Oh my goodness. How many countries have you hashed in?
Oh, wow.
Because you, no offense, get around.
Yeah, a lot, but mostly in Europe. So I've done...
Yeah, but there's a lot of countries here.
Spain, France, Luxembourg, Germany quite a lot because we were good pals with West Rhine, so we went there quite a lot. Obviously Belgium, Netherlands, Norway, Denmark. I think that's about it. I did one because I was in the area in the US, in Tampa. And obviously I've been out with the Austin hash a couple of times because I've got a lot of friends there, so Austin, Texas as well. But nowhere very far away or super exotic.
Where have you hashed that has like an impact memory?
Oh, there's a question. Some of the most... I've got to say the Nordics do it really well.
Why?
It's the people. They get it. They enjoy the spirit of the hash. If I think about some of my memorable hash experiences... Interscandi, I think it must have been either 96 or 97 in Oslo.
Oh.
That was a riot.
The Midsummer's one.
Yeah, they always do it that time of year. And another beautiful one that they did up in the Arctic Circle several years later.
Yeah, I didn't do 96, 97, but it was like 2006 or so?
2006 or so, they did one way up north
in
the Arctic Circle. That was an amazing weekend. The Copenhagen 1000 is one that will live on in my memory forever because it was just such good fun. So the Scandies know how to do it. They've definitely left an impact. And I love hashing in America with Americans.
Why?
Because they throw themselves into it. They absolutely get it and they go for it.
Do you like their traditions? Because they are very different than the Europeans, very different than the Southeast Asians.
Yeah.
Very different from anywhere else in the world, the Americans.
I think a lot of hashers will base their enjoyment of their hash traditions on their mother hash, and that's the hash that formed them. I certainly do. So there's been hashes I've been to, and you're all a bit quiet and boring, and you're nice enough people, but you're not really getting into the kind of behaviour that I associate with a hash. You generally don't have that problem in America. Sometimes they go a bit far and they're like fucking R18. They enjoy a good time.
What hash traditions do you love? What hash traditions do you hate? And why?
I love the singing. I love it when you get a circle with a good songmeister or songmistress who knows lots of songs, who knows some of the old favourites and some of the ones, and knows a few that you may not have heard before. One person I've got to give a shout out to in that regard is Yarksucker of the BNP. She's an awesome songmistress She's got a good voice. She's got a voice that projects and is powerful, so everybody in the circle can hear her. And she knows a shit ton of songs.
She's like me. That True Blue song grinds my gears.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's
boring.
horrible.
She's
amazing.
She's amazing. Some of the songs that I've learned under her leadership, Hold It in Your Hand, Mrs. Murphy, or even Shitty Trail. I think I heard that from her the first time. Yeah, I love a good song.
Yeah.
I love a good song. I love a great RA.
Who's your best RA?
Oh, there's a good question.
Weighted. I know, a weighted question.
Who do I think is an awesome RA?
The best in all of your travels or in international? Because I know the way I RA for international events and the way I RA the way the 3 London hashes, the way I RA is different.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
It's
God,
hard.
I made you speechless.
It's hard to pick out a single best RA, but some of the ones that I remember as being great. Calypso of CH3, Copenhagen. He's a funny guy.
He's a great human.
Like a lot of hashers and a lot of RAs, really fucking smart, and you've got to be a good RA. Calypso's great.
Oh, yeah.
Triafuck was a great RA when he was doing it way back. I'm talking about in the mid-90s, BMPH3. Any RA that makes people laugh and that keeps people entertained and keeps the flow going.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Are the international RAs better than the local? Or are they not any different for you?
Not necessarily any different for me. I think as long as you've got someone that, has a great command of English, because that can be a challenge if it's not your native language. But
not always.
Yeah, not always. But
Higgins and I did one in French and German, and we did it in such a
or the
over the top horrible way.
Yeah.
That it made the native speakers, the English speakers, were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But the people that knew French and German knew that we were doing it.
Absolutely.
In such a way that was
and I have
obtuse.
You have no problems with other languages being mixed in when somebody's RA. As long as everybody can understand what's going on, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Higgins has a great command of English, so he has no problem. Higgins is also a pretty funny RA. Some of the little things he's come up with, like the lost property box.
But we'll get on to that in a minute. But what do you think about single sex hashing?
I've never been on a single sex hash, and I would say I wouldn't necessarily refuse to go on one, but I would not seek one out, because I think single sex hashes, men only hashes, obviously I'm not going to be in a woman only hash, but
you can be invited,
but
like the Guernsey, the girls are here.
I think with the way the world is today, a single sex hash, it just screams toxic masculinity to me, so it's not something I would really want to be part of.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed meeting women on the hash over the last 30 years.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't really want to go to a hash that was single sex wise. I know that was a thing a long time ago. I know it's a thing in some parts of the world, but I'm like, if that's what you want to do it, but that's not what I would choose to do.
Tell me about setting trails. What was your first trail you ever set?
Oh God, I haven't set a ton. The first trail I ever set was out at a lovely spot just outside of Brussels called Zoete Water, which means sweet water. And it was me and Smurf.
Oh, yeah.
Smurf, I haven't seen Smurf in a long time. I hope she's okay if she's listening. But yeah, lovely, sweet girl. And we went out and set this trail at Zoete Water. It was an easy initiation for someone that hadn't heard before, because it's pretty flat and it was pretty easy to figure out where to go.
Did she guide you, or
I think she guided me, because she had heard before I had. Yeah, she guided me, and we figured it out, and it was fine.
Were you paired with your first trail with someone that knew what they were doing, or were you just left out to the wild to, here you are?
I think they paired us up. Every hash always struggles for hares, because you'll see.
No one wants to do it.
No one wants to do it. It's the Pareto rule. 20% of the hashes will set 80% of the trails. But they wanted volunteers to hare, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I've been hashing for well over a year by that point. You got to put something back. But yeah, I went out and hared that one with Smurf. I haven't heard a ton. The other one that's memorable because it was an inaugural was the Alicante Seldom Sober hash.
Okay, why
Yeah.
was that memorable?
I founded it.
Okay.
Full name was the Alicante Seldom Sober hash Olay, which spells asshole. Quite deliberate. And
Brilliant.
Higgins came out, and I was working in a place that had a very international bunch of people working there, and I bigged it up to them, and we got run number 1. We had 12 people and 10 different nationalities, so that was pretty good. And Higgins came out for the weekend. Higgins and I heard it was basically up the side of a pretty steep fucking hill outside Alicante, but it was a riot. It was a riot. So that's the herring that I think I remember the most. And of course, Higgins being Higgins didn't bring enough flour. I think we had to go and make an emergency run for flour halfway through. But
After those experiences, things, do you have any hash mentors, or what you call a hash mentor?
do I have a hash mentor?
Or people that you would call a hash mentor, people that molded, or you can't really say that, but helped you.
I definitely followed the behaviours of a number of people who were my kind of age and perhaps not dissimilar backgrounds when I started hashing, because the things that they did and the values that they demonstrated, and I'm not talking about some lofty thing here, we're hashers, we behave badly, but there's definitely a few there that I would look to and think, yeah, you've evidenced and demonstrated and lived the spirit of hashing that I enjoy. Everybody's different. Everybody gets something different from the hash. At the time, 25 years old in a strange city, realizing that actually this is a pretty liberal place where you can basically do whatever the fuck you like. Brussels is still like that. The opportunity for fun, both on the hash and socially together outside of any hash events, was pretty limitless. Before we finish, ask me about the whiskey tasting.
Oh no, I have quite a few questions. Raw has given me, and I have made a few of my own. One of my favorite questions, because my parents were hashers, are, do you have any memories or experiences in your life? If it wasn't for the hash, this wouldn't have happened. If it wasn't for the hash, blah. Because a lot of people, there's connections, because you never know who. My dad was an ambassador and blah, blah. And my partner's dad was an admiral.
If it wasn't for the hash, I wouldn't have the friends all over the world that I have. Yeah, and some of those friends have stuck with me, and I've seen them regularly since the get-go. Yeah, obviously I've got to call out Higgins here. I met Higgins early in my career in the BMPH3. We've always stayed in touch. Life and work have meant that being able to hang out with each other quite regularly. I was doing a job a few years ago in the European HQ, was in Brussels. Higgins was horrified at this, which meant I was in Brussels at least once a month. So that was scary for him. But the true friends I've made, and there are people that I haven't seen in years, and I still know they're super good friends. Yeah. The likes of She Muscle Bitch. I've seen her recently, but that's only because she's been touring in Europe. I haven't been to the States in a long time. Chippendale, he's still in Florida somewhere. Yeah, I saw Chippendale because I was on vacation on holiday. 7, 8, 9 years ago, and our wives were there, and it was so funny because Chippendale and I just picked up where we left off.
That's brilliant.
Literally just picked up where we left off. And his wife, Kitty, who's a lovely woman, and my wife were like looking at each other going, it's like they saw each other last week kind of thing. Yeah, there are some deep and enduring friendships that absolutely transcend time and space that I don't think I would necessarily have had without the hash. I would not have seen all the places I've seen without the hash, because I wouldn't randomly decide to go to the fucking Arctic Circle. Interscandi, what was it, 05? One of the best ever. One of the absolute best ever.
Why?
Being up in those northern latitudes during the summer, experiencing the midnight sun, you can read about it, you've got to live it. they were super well organised. I think it was the Friday night when we all got there. We set a short trail down to the beach. And then on the beach, they'd organised this huge picnic with fresh local shrimp and all sorts of other delicious stuff. We were sat there drinking beer, drinking cold white wine. The sun is not setting. It's just dipping a tiny bit. It's warm. That was the other thing. The RA did a good job with the weather gods. And so I'd gone up there. I'd been to Norway in the summer before. I know the weather's normally fucking miserable. I'd gone there with basically cool and wet weather gear. And it didn't dip below 20 degrees the whole weekend in the Arctic Circle.
Oh, wow, that's warm.
Yeah. And then just crazy experiences like being... coming out of the Saturday night party at about 3 a.m. just for a bit of air. And you get out there, it's broad daylight. And joint venture sitting on your knee. So yeah, could have been worse. But yeah, it's stuff like that you'd never normally experience.
Out of all the hash away weekends, adventures and everything, what is the most memorable and why?
Oh, it's hard to pin one down.
You can pin more than one.
But some of the most memorable are the aforementioned Copenhagen 1000 because they know how to do it. They're super well organised. Things like the hash anthem they sing in Copenhagen that they sing nowhere else to the tune of Land of Hope and Glory.
Oh, yeah.
Close the narrow circle. Yeah, just wonderful. Real camaraderie. Absolutely fabulous food, because I remember, I'm pretty sure I'm getting the weekend right, but they had a guy who was in the house, and his hash name was Uf, and I think he was a professional chef, and he fed us all weekend, and the food was great. Venue, that was fantastic. Interscandi 96 in Oslo was absolutely fantastic, because that was back in the days of the full Brussels Manneken piss shit squad. We were basically a terrorist organisation that went round and ruined everybody's weekend at the away hashes.
Why would you call it that?
Because we terrorised other people. I'll never forget getting on the bus. We were about a half-hour bus ride out of Oslo to the venue, and as soon as the bus hit the highway, me, Higgins and Triafux stood up with a bottle of aquavit each.
Oh, God.
I grabbed the bus driver's mic and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to flight SR666 to hell. In-flight service will now commence." Place the aquavit over your nose and mouth and drink normally. And we just went through the bus.
Oh, God.
And poured aquavit into everyone. And Prince was there.
Oh, yeah.
And Prince looked up at us from bleary hooded eyes and said,
I bet.
"Don't you guys ever stop." We took that as high praise indeed. But yeah, we had a storming weekend of that one.
What drives you to continue with the hashing? That is.
It is a change from my day-to-day life. I get to come and hang out with my people. I get to be silly. I get to act like I'm a lot younger than I actually am, because I'm an old man now, I'm 54. And I get to do the things I love doing. Do some trail at my pace. Get out into nature. All I want is 3, 4, 5k. I'm happy. But I feel like I've done something. Get to drink, most of the time, good beer in interesting places. Like today, we're up in Melrose, having done the Brass and Pants Saturday run, and they took us to a brewery with a tap room, and it was great, and got to try some new stuff. And get to see people I've known for a long time and meet new people. And just the song says, forget about life for a while.
What would you tell your younger self if you could speak to them about hashing? What would you say to them? Would you give them advice or say to your younger self going, "Oh, there's this group and I'm going to go on a run"? What would you say to them?
Do more away weekends. I remember everybody in Brussels, like I'd been there 7-8 months, everybody in Brussels getting super excited about Interhash Cyprus in 96.
That was my first Interhash.
And coming back with the stories the catch-up run, the whole thing. And I remember I was sorry that I hadn't chosen to go. I think I could have gone, and I thought, do I want to commit that money in time? I'm not sure. I'm sorry I didn't go to that one, because Interhash does not come to Europe very often.
No.
For reasons we can all understand.
Yeah. That's not good.
So, yeah. Do more away weekends. Learn more songs. I'm not bad.
Yeah.
But properly learn more songs. And stay alert. Stay super alert to all the funny shit that's happening around you.
Have you ever got injured on trail? Or anything that just, oh my God, this shit has just happened on trail or on one of the trails you were on or anything like that, like white powder incidents?
Not really. The worst injury I ever picked up on trail was a sprained ankle. So that's pretty minor.
Is that it?
I think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me on trail. I sprained my ankle.
Anything that's wildly, hardly believable, and you're like, it would only happen on the hash kind of thing.
That's a great question. I'm just thinking back. There's all the usual stuff: pissing on trail, shitting on trail, sex on trail. That's not what you're asking me.
No.
I'm pretty sure there have been a couple of occasions where the trail has had to be reworked at short notice because there was an angry landowner with a shotgun.
Ooh.
But again, that's not super unusual. Nothing really bad or really newsworthy has ever happened on trail that I remember. I do remember a trail that was super memorable and really funny because of the mess we were all in at the end.
Tell me.
There's two. First one, it was Brussels were hosting, it might have been, I think it was Brussels Eurohash 97, I want to say. And one of the trails, we had done it as a regular Sunday hash.
Okay.
And everybody loved it so much, they were like, you've got to put this on the trail list for Eurohash. It was out in this weird location. It was like an abandoned quarry, something like that. I just remember it was like, you got there and you could just tell bad things have happened here, because there were pools of water that were completely 100% clear with no vegetation in them. Nothing grew.
Oh dear.
In the pools of water, and they were crystal clear. It was like, okay, there's something stopping anything growing in there. But we went out, we did this trail, and at one point we all had to wade through a waist-deep V-shaped trench of completely black water.
Oh my God.
And it was absolutely filthy.
And no one was gluing at the end.
No one was gluing at the end.
Okay.
But it was single file through this trench. If you had a bag or anything with you, you had to carry it above your head. It reminded me of what I imagine it must have been like if you were in combat in the jungles in Vietnam or something like that. And every so often somebody ahead of you would call out, "Deep!" and that's when you knew it was going to go another foot down and go from your waist to your chest kind of thing. And we got off at the end and everybody was absolutely fucking filthy. Covered in black shit. And the bus driver's like, "You fuckers are going to have to clean up before you get back on my bus." So, wash yourselves down with some spare water or whatever. Luckily, it was a really hot day, so you dried off quick. But that one was fun. And the other one was Interscandy in Galway.
Yeah.
I think that's the sweatshirt there.
Yeah,
hanging up on your rail.
Yeah, I did the ball breaker there.
Yeah. So, you might remember...
We had the shortest ball breaker, but we went up at over 7K.
Yeah.
But we went up at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
And had to, what comes up goes down.
Yeah.
Apparently someone set the walker's trail just using a GPS and nothing else. And
yes, that would have been...
They went for a quagmire.
That would have been Higgins and Moose Diver.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and we not only went through a quagmire, we went through basically... impenetrable gorse bushes.
So you were on that, okay? Because
yeah.
I heard that your trail was worse than our ball breaker.
Yeah,
Tell me about it, please.
They took us out into the wild, beautiful countryside just outside of Galway. That trail was not a walker's trail.
Okay.
Number one, it was about 10 fucking K. Number two, I don't think there were any beer stops. Number three, we basically had to hike across Irish bogland. Okay. But then through the gorse, or the windbush as we call it in Northern Ireland, fucking gorse bushes tearing at your clothes.
Yeah.
Couldn't always actually see where you were going to get out of it. Yeah. Everybody came out of that with at least rips in their clothing, a few people a little bit bloody, not hurt, but an absolute mess.
Because I remember at the end of that ball breaker, there was a barbed wire fence. And of course, we got ripped because it was a huge thing and the barbed wire fence. And then we met up with the walkers and they looked worse than we.
Oh, we were done.
And they were pouring whiskey on their injuries.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck happened to you?
Oh no, it was pretty horrific. And the whole thing, literally the terrain beat you up.
Okay.
The terrain, the landscape beat you up. And then there was this bunch of hashers over from Boston.
Oh dear.
And they were a scream. I loved them. They were absolutely wild.
Okay.
But these same hashers on that weekend brought a blow-up paddling pool into the shared area of the hostel. Do you not remember this?
No, I just remember waking up with Eric on the thing and trying to drag him, and I gave up.
They brought a blow-up pool and Jello mix and filled the pool and had naked Jello wrestling in the middle of the hostel.
I think I went to bed by then. Yeah.
It was. We were all stood there. The Europeans had not really seen anything quite like that before. We were just like eyes popping, and it was hilarious. We were all killing ourselves laughing. One of the girls from Boston, the next day, she was talking about that trail, and she just described it brilliantly. She was like, yeah, the Walker's Trail, fucking rape forest. It was brilliant. I just thought you nailed it. That is a description.
That is the most brilliant description.
Yeah,
because we saw you guys, and we did the ball breakers, and it was up and over, and they go, the ball breaker was only 7K, but it is 9 degrees up and 9 degrees down.
Yeah.
And you guys look like you went through battle.
Yeah, it was, our trail was at least 7K, felt more 10. And we were fucking done by the end of it. No fucker had recce'd that trail. That was the basic problem. Nobody recce'd it. As you say, it was done with GPS or something. I don't know.
And that was before GPS was actually quite good.
Yeah, I think that was back in the day whenever whoever was hiring it probably had a handheld GPS unit. I think they didn't know where
Nokia
they were going.
4110 or whatever.
Yeah. I think they didn't know what they were doing.
Oh, Jesus.
But it didn't take away from the fun that was had that week.
Is that the most memorable trail you have?
Those two are the most memorable trails that I've got, for sure. Yeah. The BMPH31 had a name. It was called Back to the Swamp. And the one in Galway will forever be called Rape Forest after that for anyone that was there, because it was just so horrendous. Yeah, those are the two that really stick in my mind.
What about your future of hashing? Do you want to go to more countries? Do you want to do more inter-hashes you were talking about?
Yeah.
Do you like these big events, or do you like the smaller ones?
Not so much. Not so much. I did inter-hash in Cardiff.
Yeah,
And
that was good.
I had fun, but it's a huge event. And
Shanghai
I remember,
was massive.
Yeah.
It was too much for me.
And I remember Brussels 2014 as well. Brussels 2014 was a great event. All the committee did a super job. The venue was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But...
drink more water.
Yeah. yeah. What did I say to Rumble after that one? Yeah. Drink more can. Crush your mug. And bring your water. That was it. Yeah. The thing I learned from that event in particular was that I don't actually like those mega events. Because it's just too many people. You don't get round and see the people you really want to see, the people you haven't seen in a long time. I'm much happier with the kind of small to medium. What are we this weekend? 104 people, something like that. That's perfect. I am going to Eurohash this year, which I know will be big, but I think it's 600-700, something like that. Yeah.
Eurohash, I did, obviously I was on the committee for 2019, but I don't like the big events because I like...
Yeah.
And I like doing the interviews. I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
The only reason I did the registration desk in 2014 is I knew I wasn't going to see everyone I wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's a good call. At least if you're on Rego,
Hi,
you've got a
how are
chance.
you? Hug.
Yeah.
Here's yourself.
Yeah. No, Eurohash, I'll see how I go. I think actually I haven't been to a Eurohash period apart from the one we did in Brussels where I wasn't on the committee, but I was helping out, you know. And that was big. That was 500-600 people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like Estonia. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's my size limit. I'm not actually keen on doing an interhash with 2,500 people. You know,
6,000 in Chichang, it was too much.
Oh, that's fucking crazy. No way. Unless you are super organised and have your group that you want to be with the whole weekend with you at the get-go, you're going to end up with a bunch of strangers, and sure, they're hashers and they're all great. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, which is 2 or 3 away weekends every year.
Oh, that's good.
Mostly local. I will always go to Belgian Nash Hash because I love the BMPH3.
You live there.
Yeah, the people have changed, but some of the same people are still there, and I like the new people. If I think about the younger people that are up and coming in that hash, I love them too. And 1 or 2 other probably European away weekends.
What country would you love to hash in?
I would love to hash probably somewhere I would love to go anyway. I've not really done very much in Southeast Asia, either personal travel, business travel, or the hash. I'd love to go hash in somewhere like Vietnam. I think that would be an experience.
The Saigon hash are amazing.
Yeah, somewhere like Vietnam, Thailand,
They're amazing too.
Somewhere around there, because I reckon that would be a good way to see some beautiful scenery, have a good time, and experience different hash transit. Oh, and the food. I absolutely love food from that part of the world. I love it all. So, love the spice.
And the hash know places that no one else would know.
Yeah. And I see recently as well things like a couple of hash tours that have been done down to Antarctica, and I'm thinking that wouldn't be a bad way of getting there. It'd probably be more fun than doing that trip on your own or with one other person, a family member or a friend or whatever. Yeah, wouldn't mind doing that, but that's
expensive.
It's very expensive, and you've got to take 3-4 weeks out of your schedule to do it.
So if money and time is no object,
If money and time is no object,
where would you go?
I'd definitely do Antarctica. I would do probably a lot in Asia because,
Pan-Asia?
Pan-Asia, that's a big event. Probably not. I'd probably go and do some smaller, more localized events. And I would quite like to hash in Africa. I hear people talking about Pan-Africa and all that.
Pan-Africa, I find it wonderful.
Yeah.
Because they're very welcoming.
Yeah.
You need to not eat for about a week before you go there. Because the Africans will feed you.
Yeah.
But the food is good.
Yeah.
I'm going to Ghana this year. And I'm hoping Mauritius and Madagascar are bidding. Both I would love.
Madagascar, that'd be wild.
And Timbuktu, but there's a war going on.
Yeah.
Wanted to bid. And maybe in a few years the war won't be going on.
Yeah. No,
but who wants... Come on, say you've hashed in Timbuktu for frick's sake.
Exactly. I haven't travelled very much in Africa at all.
No?
No, I've literally been to Morocco and Egypt, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
So...
No,
just the northern, just the touristy bits, really. So yeah, I would do some more hashing in Africa as well.
Where else is on your bucket list of places to go?
When things settle, I'd like to be able to go back to Russia, but that'll be a while. Either for a personal trip or for hashing. Yeah. I went to St. Petersburg 21 years ago and I really liked it. And wild places. Yeah, I'd like to go hashing in Siberia, in Alaska, in...
The Alaskan hash is quite wild and wonderful.
I can imagine.
They do a cruise as well, I've heard of.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind going on a hash cruise. That'd be a riot.
There's several.
I keep seeing the plugs for the ones that Kitty does, and they look like fun.
I've done the Dalmatian several times and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, don't eat for about a week before
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. The other places I would like to hash are probably like the places that I would like to travel to anyway. Far away, places that you might not normally go. My eldest son has a thing, he wants to go to Svalbard. And I'm like, we'll get eaten by polar bears. He says, no, we won't, we'll be fine.
Only if you're covered in fish, you will.
Yeah, but he wants to go to Svalbard. It's like a hash in Svalbard would be fun. I've heard people talk about the Simmer Dim up in Shetland.
Yeah.
That looks like fun. It is an opportunity, if time and money are available, to go to places that you might not otherwise go. There are places that you might not take your partner, there are places that you might not take your family, but there are places that could be fun.
What's your attitude towards hashing? Are hashers changed over the years from when you started and when you finished? How do you think hashing has changed since then?
I don't think my attitude has shifted very much.
Do you think hashers have changed?
I don't think so. I think there's always been a mix of attitudes and outlooks among hashers. There are the wild ones that like to do crazy stuff and have a really good time and party, and there are those that go there and they enjoy the exercise. They might do a longer run, they'll have a couple of beers, and then they'll go home quite satisfied with their day. And I'm like, that's great. You do you, whatever you happens to be. I don't think hashers have changed all that much. I think the hash has done an amazing job of embracing technology to tell people about what's going on. I think they were pretty quick to do that. Even back in the 90s, we had the mailing list, we had Hash L and Euro Hash L, when those were still quite new things. And I don't think my attitude to hashing has changed at all.
A lot of people think hashing has only older people retired. How would you encourage maybe the younger generation?
This is a great
Not
question.
my age, but more Kermit's age. He's in his 20s. So
Yeah. This is a great question. I don't know whether it's the events that I go to or what. I do see me and my hashing friends, we're all getting older. There's not always enough young blood. And I think it's hard for hashers to keep young blood coming in because the world has got so much more complicated. There are so many more distractions. I think young people we're all guilty of it. We've all got our noses stuck in our phones the whole fucking time. A lot of people do. I'm guilty of it as well. Also, young people, they will do whatever they want to do for socializing, for fitness and exercise, if that's what you want to get out of the hash. I think they're probably also under a little bit more financial pressure, certainly in the UK, and therefore being able to not so much turn up to your local hash, because that's only a few quid every week, but go on away weekends and so on, their ability to do that might be a bit limited. Although, I've got to counter that with, it's a hell of a lot cheaper to travel around Europe than it was when I was 25. So there's that. What I would say to young people is come and try it out. Give it a couple of goes. It's not going to be responsible adult behaviour, so if that's what you want in your life, maybe not for you. But it is fun. There's a great camaraderie. There's a great brotherhood and sisterhood as part of the hash. And they will look out for you. Hashers always have each other's backs. Yeah. And you will get to meet interesting people. I would say particularly if you find yourself, as I did, a stranger in a strange land, it's a great place to get to know people. Because when I started hashing back then, I never made any effort to expand my social circle beyond the hash because I didn't need to, because it gave me everything I needed. The other thing is, as I've seen happen a lot of times, you might meet your forever person on the hash.
What does Brussels do to encourage new people, or do they not? Some hashes do not want to. They're quite happy in their old ways.
No, there's a good flow of young...
I'm not going to say old ways. They're happy in their ways.
There's a good flow of young blood into the BMPH3. If I think about some of the people that I've met recently that weren't there before, Sandy Syphilis, Trouble Brewing, and a few others, there's a good flow of young people. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they get the word out, whether those people are experienced hashers who have gone and sought out the hash because they've moved to a new city. I think that's probably a lot of it.
Okay.
I don't know what, if anything, they do for recruitment from the mortals, but I think it's super important. I think it's super important. When I've taken my eldest son hashing on a couple of occasions, he's looked around him and thought, God, these people are all so fucking old. And he's not a negative kid, and he doesn't mean it in a bad way. When you're 20, you want to speak to other people in their 20s.
But you also don't want to do what your parents are doing.
No,
because that's not cool.
Not necessarily. I think it's something very important that all hashers need to look at. I don't have the answer.
No, I'm not asking for advice.
Advice. I think figure out your target demographic and find a way of reaching them.
What do you think is going to be the future of hashing? Do you think it's on the decline for younger people, or do you think it's going to go up? Opinion.
I don't know. I think now more than ever, hashes are going to have to put more effort in to keep the flow of new people coming through, because the world is full of so many distractions.
Oh, God.
There are 47 million other things that you can do that might or might not make you happy. It's hard for hashes to reach people and recruit them, and it's hard for young people to even know that hashing is a thing. If I think about all the people I know in the mortal world, none of them have ever heard of it. Mm-hmm. One friend of mine has expressed an interest in coming away with me on a hash weekend.
Oh, okay.
And I keep forgetting to tell him when I book shit, but it's not deliberate. But yeah. He's like, that sounds like fun, but I will bring him somewhere next year. And I think it is hard. How do hashes do that? I don't know. But I think that's a real challenge. I almost think it's an existential threat that hashers need to be aware of.
Do you think technology has been a hindrance or a benefit?
It's been a benefit if you know what you're looking for. If I want to go hashing with my local hash, Essex, I don't turn out for them very often, I have to say. I do live hashing as mostly an away thing these days. Life gets in the way otherwise. But I love being able to go on to Facebook or whatever and find it super quick. Know where the next run is and where and all the rest of it. So I think technology's been fantastic for people who know about the hash to find a hash or to find their hash and find out what's going on. Every hash I know publishes their runs, and it's just super easy to find out what's going on. I think it's a hindrance in getting the message out, because you would have to do a lot of very carefully targeted and probably paid for, which hashes are not going to do, advertising and profiling to get the message that a hash exists in your town. And based on what we know about you, you might like it in front of a young person.
Advertise in Time Out in London, and we used to go to Freshers Fair, but that's not a thing anymore.
Did you ever get anybody through an advert in Time Out? Really?
Tons.
All right, that's interesting.
Tons.
Yeah.
It's not a thing anymore. It hasn't been a thing for a long time. So your next stop is Eurohash.
Yep. No, my next stop is BMPH3 2K.
Okay.
Then Eurohash.
And then Eurohash.
Yeah.
And you prefer the more international thingies and everything the same.
Yeah.
And the smaller events the same.
Yeah.
What do you predict for your future self for hashing?
I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I enjoy it.
Excellent.
I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I'm able, pitching up at a few selected events and catching up with people, meeting new people and having fun.
What would you tell people that are just started hashing? Or people who are going on the fence about it, going, oh, there's this thing and I don't know if I should go or not?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So go, try it out, give it a couple of goes.
Yeah.
You might turn up to the hash and you might not have a great experience the first time for any number of reasons. You might not like the trail, you might not like the RA.
But I know
the
even
weather
in
might be
London,
shit.
London hash might not suit you.
Yeah.
West London might suit you, but City
Yeah.
might suit you. They're
Yeah.
all so different. If you
Yeah.
have multiple ones in the
Yeah,
city.
if you're in a location with multiple hashes, absolutely try them all. Absolutely try them all. Because,
Goldilocks.
Yeah. Because they are very different. I don't know the London hashes terribly well, but I am very much aware that they all have different personalities. West London do one thing, City do another, and so on and so forth. I don't know if North Thames are still going or not.
Yeah.
But
They're
yeah.
a pub crawl.
Yeah.
And my sorted snorted are still going, but
Yeah.
they're a pub crawl hash.
Yeah, that suits a lot of people.
Yeah.
That suits a lot of people. Yeah. It's keep trying different things and don't write it off after your first or second experience. You will find different things, and if the opportunity to go on an away weekend arises, take it. That's where you'll get a true experience of the differences that can exist in hashing, and you'll meet some really interesting people.
Do you find meeting people from international hashes a beneficial thing? And do you find the smaller events more beneficial than the bigger events?
Yes, I like meeting people on international hashes. I like meeting new people. I always try and chat to a few people I haven't met before, usually through someone I know. But that's easy once you're established. And definitely smaller rather than bigger, as we've discussed.
No, wait. Information desk. We were going to talk
Information
about the
desk.
information desk. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about the information desk.
The birth of the information.
Because
Yeah.
you are infamous, and that is going to be the thing about please report to the information desk.
Yeah, super simple. Eurohash 97. Registration was taking place in one of the big conference rooms in a big hotel in the centre of Brussels. So people walked in, big old room, all the committee and helpers at the bottom of the room. Here's your t-shirt, here's your wrist, yada yada. Yeah, we all know the drill. And then they'd be like, this was pre-arranged. And then they'd be like, oh, I got a question. Oh, just head on over to the information desk. And I was beautifully positioned. I was behind the door that led into this big, so it was two big ass double doors leading into this conference room, and I was tucked away behind the right hand door at a small table, and on that table was a Jolly Roger flag and a lot of aquavit.
Oh God. Oh God.
And that was all.
Oh, not
That was all that was required. And I got all the dumbass questions. All the dumbass questions. I'm sorry, but not surprised to say that 90% of the dumbass questions came from Americans.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, what's the voltage? Where can I get a socket adapter? How do I make my cell phone work? Yeah, and I helped them all. I answered them all, but yeah, everybody got a shot of aquavit. The stupider the question, the bigger the shot. One of the funny moments that I do recall from that session at the information desk was, I think it was a hasher called Teacher's Pet. I know there's a couple, but I can't remember which. A guy, that's all I know. Tall guy. He got, for a particularly dumb question, he got a particularly hefty shot of aquavit, and he literally just went straight backwards onto the floor.
No. Oh dear.
He was okay, he wasn't hurt, but it was just funny the way he reacted. I think he was putting it on to a certain extent. But yeah, that was the birth of the information desk. And essentially, that incident and what I did there have become quite famous since. So basically, the information desk is me at a hash event with several bottles of whatever liquor I can lay my hands on.
It's usually crap liquor.
It's usually crap liquor, yeah. But yeah, so that's the information desk.
How many times have you done the information
Oh
desk?
boy. 8 or 9 now at least. Some have been more successful than others. Depends on a couple of things. Depends on me being organised. Depends on actually having a helper That's usually quite good. Me and She Muscle Base did a good one. And it also depends on me actually keeping a list. So if I do it right, and that's become a lot easier since technology. If there's going to be an event that I'm going to, and there's a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, all the fucking stupid questions, I just keep a note. And if I'm doing it perfectly, the people doing registration have a list of who needs to be sent to the information desk.
Yeah.
And they will be dealt with accordingly. That actually worked quite well last year in Hamburg. Right up until the minute that the bartender noticed that we were dispensing booze in his bar.
Okay.
He wasn't very happy about that.
No.
Then we went outside and carried on for a bit.
What's your most memorable information desk? And why?
I think the first one. Because it was a new idea and people had never heard of this before, and they were so surprised at the punishment that was being applied to them immediately after the stupid question got asked.
Everyone in Europe knows go to the information desk.
They do now.
And stuff like that. What makes you continue with going to the information desk?
Because it's funny.
It is funny.
Because
I think it's funny as
and
well.
actually, not everybody knows. At a couple of events, there were people perhaps visiting hashers from outside of Europe getting shitty because they were being called to the information desk or whatever. And people just not understanding the running joke that is the information desk.
You were called to the information desk this weekend at a bra and pants weekend.
Yeah.
You forgot your bra and your pants.
I did. I done fucked up.
Information desk. Unfortunately, we didn't have any alcohol for you.
I'm sure I'll get punished at some point this evening. Yeah.
I think you should.
I got a weird shot this morning from Biggest Dickus. I don't know what it was.
Oh, yeah, don't ever have.
It wasn't so bad. It was sweet. Well, I could tell it was also really strong, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
Never accept alcohol from the Danes or the Dutch. I've learned that.
I welcome alcohol from the Danes. The Dutch, not so much. Because the Dutch have some terrible things. Jenever is bad.
Good Jenever is good.
Good Jenever's not.
But some of the Danes, that stuff that I had that was basically window cleaner.
Oh, Gammeldansk.
Oh my God, it was awful.
Gammeldansk is pretty bad.
It was awful. It cleared my sinuses.
Yeah.
And it also made all the moisture in my head want to escape.
Yeah. That sounds about right. It sounds like Gammeldansk. Nerdsale is another one that's pretty bad.
Disgusting.
Yeah, but the Dutch somehow in their twisted history invented Korenwijn. Korenwijn makes Jenever taste good. Yeah. Oh, desperate. I gotta go. Yeah. Probably
Thank you so much, Sex Reject. Pleasure. I really appreciate that. And this is the On podcast. Thank you very much for listening.
To close the circle, here's the Hash Anthem sung by Mother Hash.
Swing low, sweet child.